ụlọ nsọ gị Chukwu ka ị na-abata, bịakwute ya bịa zuru ike. Anya bịawa ịsọpụrụ gị ugbu a, bịakwute ya bịa zuru ike. Bịa o bịakwute ya, bịakwute ya, bịakwute ya bịa zuru ike. Bịa o bịakwute ya, bịa o bịakwute ya, bịakwute ya bịa zuru ike. Chukwu nna n'ụlọ gị ka ị na-akpọ gị, bịakwute ya bịa zuru ike. Otito na-adịrị gị mgbe niile, bịakwute ya bịa zuru ike. Bịa o bịakwute ya.
Otito niile dịrị Chineke, ọbọsị dị elu, Chukwu obiọma, Chidi ebere, Olisa nwa amara, ka ụzọ anyị ọbụla niile bụrụ ihe, ka ihe ọbụla kpatara aka, ka ọ bụrụkwa ahụ mma mma, ka ụwa niile site n'ozi ọma anyị a nwụsa obi aṅụrị taa na mgbe niile ebighị ebi. Ọfọ ya gazie ise o. All praises to Chi, the Creator, the Supreme Being, Chi the good, Chi the merciful, Chi the magnificent, with grace. Let every way of our lives be light. Let all our acts be crowned with good. And may the world prosper from our ministry, now and forever. So let it be. Amen.
Ndewo.
Ndewo gelike cow.
Onike.
I'm
trying to smile. But you see, I'm dressed in black.
Yes.
Because the world is mourning.
It's yeah.
I would like to be my vibrant colors.
Yeah.
If I thought in my heart there was a reason for celebration. But unfortunately, there is not. And so I'm here to mourn with the rest of the world what is going on in our world. Our world is in chaos. And I never thought in my life that I'll be alive to see Third World War. And it appears that that's where we're heading. Mamano, ndewono.
Ndewo.
Wherever you are. Before I get started with my commentary, then Dibia Yudi will join. I just want to share a prayer that Ahai always prayed during the time of strife in the world. And he would say, and so let it be our God, that it shall dawn upon all the world to realize that they are anti-Chineke when they incite and wage religious quarrels. And they make Chineke upset when they use the name of the divine for their reason for going to war. And he says that humanity must get soaked in time in the philosophy of live and let live, so that this philosophy, spiritual philosophy from Africa, shall dwell upon, peace like doves shall dwell upon humanity and bring peace and love to the world. Oh, how I wish.
I remember that prayer. I remember that prayer, Ogele. I remember that prayer, man. You just prayed it all back to me growing up.
It's so needed right now. It is a tragedy what is going on in our world. I just want to have this conversation with a PowerPoint. Faith and humanity, that is the topic of today, a call for peace. It is important for all of us to remember, wherever you may be today, that the dinosaurs, they died off, didn't they?
Yeah, they did.
There's no guarantee that we will be here. We remember when we talk about creation from an African spiritual perspective, we say that Chineke said, everything in this world I've given to you for your own good. If you take care of it, if you nurture it, it will care for you. It will nurture you as well. Only if you take the time to care for it. Well, now is the time for us to begin to care for our world. And that is, we must get into this very vital position of faith in our humanity, all of us, understanding that we are one. And that we will go by way of the dinosaurs. It may not be a big meteorite that will come and destroy us. It may well be us. We are heading there. So Chiism today, we are calling for peace in our world. Is it possible? Dibia Yudi, is it possible? I don't know.
I don't know.
Religious wars are conflicts primarily driven by differences in religious beliefs, often intertwined with political, social, and economic factors. Now, let me make it clear. What we're seeing happening is religious war.
Yep.
It's religious war.
No less.
A lot of the excuses used to ferment hatred for each other stems from religious wars. The Crusades, the Jihad, and all the countless other conflicts show how deeply intertwined faith can be with violence. Because we believe my way or the highway. I have a picture of St. Bartholomew's Day massacre of French Protestants in 1572. Read up on that. It was based on religion. What you're seeing right now, the Iranians are Muslim, Israelites are Jewish. Now Nigeria, America has come in, Christian. Each one believing that their philosophy, that they have the right over the other to survive. And so the conflict continues. It's not ending because of that mindset, my way or the highway, exclusivity, exclusive truth. I know what's right, you don't. We claim God for ourselves. We define God from our own perspective, which is okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But give another human being that opportunity, that chance to see God, Chineke, whatever you call your source of inspiration, from their perspective. As long as we continue to try to prove that our way, our race is more deserving of life, we're going to keep having this. Because as long as we have that sense, we dehumanize the other. Eradicating them means nothing. Killing them means nothing because they are not us. We think it has political implications. It has social, it has economic factors that cause these wars, but let us not overlook the religious. Even if you look at what's going on even in Nigeria right now, it's religious conflict. I'm not saying that is the only reason, but it's certainly a very healthy reason why we're killing each other. Faith is supposed to bring us together. When we all talk about divine mind, we don't even understand when we say divine mind. What is that? Divine mind, Chineke, the creator, is the only mind that we should be concerned about not caring about us. We are an idea in the mind of Chineke. That's what we are. We're an idea. We're not the only idea. All of humanity is important before Chineke. It all depends from where you perch. Your perspective has to do with your culture. People who Yudi says it all the time. A person who lives in the cold climes, in Yudi, what was that country you're always talking about?
Russia.
If you live in a place, right, that
Mm.
is very, very cold, most of what you perceive around you is cold.
Oh, okay. I know
It's
what
gone
you
around. Okay, so
the
you see life
Eskimos
from that
in Greenland.
perspective.
Yeah.
If you're in Africa, you see life from an African perspective. If you're in
Hmm.
Europe, you see life from a European perspective. But we are really one people under Chineke, because we are a design in the mind. We're different designs in the mind of Chineke. We're not different. We're not as different as we think we are. We are just as important. Everybody's. I like to go to a place where there are different people. I love to smell the culture, to see the culture, to live the culture. The diversity is beautiful. But we have convinced ourselves, many of us, that we are more important than the others. The killings that are going on in Gaza. Why? What is that about? Now, what's going on in Iran? What's going on in Israel? What God knows we've gotten ourselves into by joining this war. I don't know. I'm sure your president will tell us, or he tried yesterday. I'm not sure what you got out of it, but maybe some of you got his reason for dropping the bombs in Iran. I'm not a military mind. I don't know. I'm not sure what led to all of that, but here we are. Here we are. Like the diversity of races, we also have diverse philosophies and beliefs. That's one of the things that we don't seem to get. It's not just the differences in our color. The mind is different too. We have different philosophies, even in our own personal homes. The philosophies that we have, how to raise our children. How I raise my kids, even though we're from the same family, is different from how you raise yours.
Yeah.
You have some
Absolutely.
values that you find more important to raise your children with. It doesn't mean that my way is bad. It doesn't mean your way is better. It's what works for you. And we can appreciate that. We can appreciate that, but we don't seem to appreciate it. The different perspectives. If only we could appreciate one another's perspective, we might realize that this world is vast enough to accommodate all of us. If we narrow the world and kill and kill and kill and kill and kill and kill, who's left? Can any one race occupy the whole world? You did talk to me. Now, come on. If we get rid of every race in this world and only one is left, can we occupy the whole world?
Of course not.
Of course not.
It's impossible.
So you declare them. What are we running? What are we fighting against? If we can just respect each other's perspective, we'll have a working world, a good world, a world that all of us can celebrate and enjoy and live in. Just see what happens when there are no wars. People go about their businesses. People go about their businesses, doing what they have to do, collaborating with each other. That's when there's peace. When there's peace, we all live our dreams, our goals. But right now, you told me, you're confused. Can you imagine how young people feel?
I mean,
when we respect each other is crucial. Respecting each other is crucial. I'm just, and I believe that by fostering understanding, we could create more opportunities for peace. Territorial disputes can be resolved if people stop trying to claim what belongs to others. Look, Yudi, there are some parts of the world that seem to be more affluent than others. Okay, here again, there lies in perspectives. If I've never seen a Mercedes before, Yudi, would I be crying for Mercedes?
Nope.
A rickshaw will be fine with me. That's all that's around me. If I don't have skyscrapers around me, would I be fighting for skyscrapers? We always seem to want to go and get something that belongs to someone else because we're not satisfied with what we have. If we can just be satisfied with what we have, we will not have a need to go and kill. See, listen, it is the killing part for me. It's the killing. You want something and you got to kill somebody for it. What does that make you? What does that actually, you have to think in your mind, how do I live? How do I celebrate this thing called life when it involves me taking someone else's life, taking something that doesn't belong to me? African people, there are some African people today who are celebrating what happened in Iran, because the Jews are the chosen people of God. Everybody belongs to God. Everybody is chosen. We're all chosen people of divine mind. All of us matter. We cannot allow any human being to out there hurt other people just because, the Jews have the right to survive. Of course, they have that right. Everybody has right. So does Iran. So does the United States. So does every other country in this world. We cannot continue at this rate killing for the purpose of divine sacredness. We're closest to God. We claim God. We own God. And I use God because a lot of people use God. But for me, it's Chineke. The way I see Chineke may be different from the way you see Chineke, because your action determines how you view your Chineke. Maybe in the morning, Chineke, you get up and you pour libations first. Maybe that's not what I do first. Or vice versa. But we still believe in Chineke. How we choose to go about honoring this divine source of inspiration is the problem we're having now, because everybody thinks it's my way. If it's not my way, then it's bad. It's got to be someone else's. Now I have to take away someone else's right to honor God in the way they understand best. We do that. And somehow we think everything will be okay. What's going on right now in the world will destroy us. The world is positioned to destroy itself. We are going to destroy ourselves if this does not stop. We must find diplomatic means to address differences. And if you're going to use Chineke to address differences, come with it with obioma, with kindness, with joy, with love for humanity. Because if God is love, if Chineke is love, or whatever you call the divine, if you attach love to it, then that same that relationship you want to have with the Creator, you must have it with humanity, because everybody was created by Chineke. I am so afraid, Yudi, that it's about to get worse.
Yeah.
Well, you talked me out of it. The ongoing conflict between Iran and Israel, and now US, I beg your pardon, it's supposed to be USA, it's heart-wrenching. Innocent lives are going to be lost on all sides. When we consider the plight of the Palestinians, it becomes clear that this cycle of hatred is fueled by religious animosity. Now, some people are going to argue with me. Now, it's not true. It's not religious. Yudi, explain to me what else it is. We are in a dilemma. How can we profess that God is a loving entity while using faith as a justification for killing? All of this killing is justified because of a particular religious philosophy, feeling that they're better than other people. I'm a theist. I don't think I'm better than anyone. I don't. I will profess my spirituality. The only time I disagree with you is if you start telling me my way is bad when it serves me well. We cannot use divine Chineke or whatever. Again, I keep restating that, or whoever you call, whatever name you have for the divine. We cannot use that excuse. We cannot use that as justification. That's why if you look at all these religious wars, it's God that's used as justification for the killing. Because I own God. I know what God wants. God didn't want you. Created you, yes, but didn't really want you. Really wanted me. People like me. If we wipe out all of Africa, and there are no inhabitants in Africa, we wipe out all of Asia, there are no Asians in Asia. and the Middle East, etc., and only one race is left, who's going to occupy the world? Who? There's a reason why all of us are where we are. This contradiction of saying that Chineke is peace and love, it's a bad contradiction. It's staggering. At some point, we must set aside our differences and see them as strengths rather than obstacles. Yudi, have you ever seen Tug of War?
Yep.
Have you ever seen the game Tug of War?
Yeah.
Huh? You played it. You played it.
Oh, yeah, I played it in primary school and all that stuff. High school too. Yeah.
Now, the people who play the game of Tug of War, do they play it only with somebody that looks like them or acts like them or speak their language? When you are assigned a team, what happens, Yudi? What happens?
You got to deal with it. You got to work together.
As a team, you have to work together. At that point, it doesn't matter. The world is at a tug of war because we've got nature. Nature is turning on us. Certainly, part of it is because of what we've done to it. But if we want to win, if we want to continue to inhabit this earth, then humanity have got to be on the team, the tug of war team. We must play together. We must work together. This constant, this death spiral, this do me, I do you, God no go vex. It's not going to work. I'm not the only voice saying this. People are rising up to say, we can't continue like this. But guess what? It's going to continue. I think it's going to get worse. That realization hasn't taken root. I hope that those engaged in these conflicts will reflect on the humanity lost and question if all this suffering is really worth it. Is it worth it? Is it worth it? I mean, what happens? That's the question I always ask Yudi. What happens when all races are killed and only one race is left? Will God that you seek be happy and just bless him? Oh, you know, the blacks are gone, the Asians are gone, the whites are gone, or whomsoever is gone. Then you get the blessings of Chineke because you killed everybody off. Is that how it's supposed to work? If everybody else is not worthy of survival, how in the world do you think you are worthy of survival? Who are you honoring? Is it Chineke that you're saying, okay, well, I've killed them all off, now bless me? Let's look for peace now. That's what anyway, I'm not going to get into that. Peace does not come after you instigate a war. Purposefully, unconscionably. You must find diplomatic means of solving our problems. Can we keep hope alive? That's the question I want to ask Dibia Chiedozie, who has just joined us. Dibia Ndewo.
Dibia Ndewo.
Dibia
Charger. Happy to see you.
Same here, same here.
Feet and kicking.
Yeah.
Yes, you know, I just want you guys to know that we do have quite a bit of comments from our viewers, so I'm going to go to them now and then. But I want your take. The question I have is hope. Keep hope alive. Can we keep hope alive? How do we do that? How do we keep hope alive? Is it possible?
Okay. Am I to answer to that?
Any one of you, Chair does and then you do.
Okay. Yes, we will keep having hope. That is hope for us. It will be better. Not that it will be good. It will be better. So for us, hope is not just something of faith. It's something that we believe in, and something that is rational, something that we have made the foundation of our existence. That's why for us, We approach life by complementarity. So that the way we approach God is not the way others necessarily have to approach God. And so for us, we have always said that we are the monotheists, Africans, cheese. We are the monotheists. Others are henotheists, because we as monotheists believe in one universal God, but we give everybody their privilege to have their own way to God, insofar as that way serves humanity. That's our way. But henotheism insists that you must have only one way to God, and that is where the problem lies. So the problem you'll find in the Middle East, it's something that happens because of their orientation, the Lex Talionis orientation, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. Like you said, do me, I do you. God no go vex. So strike me, I strike you. Man no die, man no vex. Life continues. And so for me, I do not put the blame on the doorstep of one person, either it is Iran or Israel. Both of them are guilty. That is their nomenclature. Because in the first instance, if we trace the history of Abraham, now Abraham, because of the change from the foundation, the cultural foundation, Abraham migrated to change to become a Jew, a Hebrew. So Abraham is Iranian, because if I trace the history, Abraham migrated from the Ur of Chaldeans, and the Ur of Chaldeans should be in Iran. And so if it's from Iran that, or Iraq, whichever one, that Abraham migrated to become a Jew, such that his name transformed from Abraham to Abraham, the question is, so why the fight? When it was not Israel and Iran, it was Iran and Iraq. And both of them are ancient neighbors, Babylonia and Assyria. And both of them are Muslims, one Sunni, one Shiite. And so it is the culture of that area. As Israel is saying that they are the chosen people, I think the current president and the Shah of Iran, every time his utterance is, Israel must be wiped out. So it is the nomenclature of that place. It is the same thing, the nomenclature of henotheist. We see that the war between NATO and old Warsaw Pact resurfaced in the Russian-Ukraine war. It's a question of fight for survival. And if Russia watches on not defending itself, it will be wiped out. For it to survive, it has to wipe out the other. So they call it deterrence theory. It's been there from ancient time. And so to summarize, if you read the Bible, you will see that conquest means total conquest of the vanquished, of the victim. Nothing is left. Everything is considered to be profane, to be something, a sin, sinful. Everything on the part of the victim is considered to be sinful. Their temple, their culture, their women, everything. You find it in Judaism, you find it in Christianity, you find it in Islam. All the Abrahamic religion, like Dibia Church, will classify them, is the nomenclature. And it is the nomenclature of the Caucasians, whether they are Semites or whatever they are, Caucasians generally. So that is why you see their colonization of Africa is total. And they never believe any other person should have freedom. So for Europe to be rich, Africa has to be poor. And if Africa wants to get it right, confuse them, destroy them, stampede them. make sure they never develop. We can see that happening with Traore. We can see that happen with Patrice Lumumba, with Nkrumah, with anybody who tries to dare their own order. If we had colonized Europe, Europe would not have the problem of culture clash and cultural identity. They will not have the problem of cultural identity because we would have left their culture and spirituality intact. In fact, we will have taken some things from their culture like we have done to enrich ours. But that is not their nomenclature. So you are quite right. The attitude of the interminable way of speaking, the attitude of absolutism, it's something that we must find a way of making sure we enlighten people, not indoctrination, enlightenment. That is why the Cheese program must continue. And that is why we must continue the Cheese program on the Cheese belief system, on the Cheese tradition, on the African soul, because that is the solution to the present day upheaval of either exist or you don't, between you and I. And so if true is true, false is false, and falsehood must be eradicated. And if falsehood is true, then truth must be eradicated. In the culture of the Caucasian, inclusivity is a difficult thing. It operates by the law of inclusivity. So it's either you take it the right way or the wrong way, but two cannot exist. So their culture operates by exclusion, elimination, subjugation, while ours operate by inclusivity, complementarity, symbiosis. And until the African soul becomes the order, the universal order, this will continue. I found a note of warning. It does not mean that with the African order, there will be no quarrels and wars. There will be quarrels, there will be wars, but it will be settled on a win-win. Win-win. I fall for you, you fall for me. So that's why traditional Africa did not produce vanquished states, conquered states, before the intrusion of the Caucasian race, the Arabs and the Christians, Islam and Christianity. What we produced were vassal states, states that paid tributes to their master. And that's how we operated. We do not dominate people totally. We do not eradicate people. We leave them to breathe. Thank you.
That guy's here. So true. Yudi.
I mean, he covered a lot, really.
Yes, he did.
Divya covered a lot, and just, hit it on the head. But I just want to kind of dive into something, maybe a little bit of the way path, but just for us to think deep, to have a little bit of encomium and delve into the human psyche or the spiritual psyche, so that we could better understand why we behave the way we do. And unfortunately, it isn't very simple. Well, it breaks the heart to witness how these Abrahamic religions, Christianity and Islam and Judaism, are tormenting the world, twisting the hearts of people with religious intolerance and mutual prejudice and bitterness. I mean, like Dibia was saying, for one thing, both of them are, derivations from the same Jewish religion of Judaism, right? He talked about Abraham. They all have the same ancestors. They believe in the same thing. It's not like the Muslims deny Jesus. They don't deny that Jesus existed. They just say that Jesus was not the Son of God. He was a prophet. And the last prophet that Chineke sent is Muhammad. That's the point of the difference. They all believe in heaven and hell. Maybe some of them a little bit more exaggerated than others, but it depends on who's talking about it. The other one talks about when you get to heaven, it's all, gold avenues and the pearly gates and all the things shining. I guess everybody's just kneeling in prayer. That's what you get. For the Muslim, you get to heaven, what you get? 79 black-eyed virgins. To each his own. Some people might just choose to be Muslims. just because of what they get when they die. Choose. Pearly gates, streets of gold, and it's all bling bling, because you can't even spend the money anyway. You're in heaven. What are you buying that you don't already have? As opposed to being in heaven with 72 black-eyed virgins. Which would you choose? And if you're a woman, where would you go? Or what do you get when you get to heaven? You understand? There's a distinction between religion and spirituality. I mean, we use it interchangeably, to represent distinct concepts. But religion generally refers to organized belief systems with specific doctrines, rituals, and communities. It's like a tattoo. It's your identity. The religion identifies who and where you come from. And when the interest of your people is at stake, you almost always gravitate towards your primordial spiritual culture. When the interest of the Arab is at stake, they do what? Gravitate towards Islam. The European, Christianism. The Chinese, it'll be their traditional religion of Taoism and Confucianism before Buddhism. If you're Japanese, it's Shinto. India, Hindu, Sikhism. In Africa, in Umboro, it's Shiism. Guardianism, to some, at least, its journey through the European influence communities in Nigeria. You kind of have to say things with an English attachment to it so that it's not so threatening to some people. So if you want to be heard, you have to kind of try to water down your message a little bit. And if you really tell it like it is, boom, you're gone. But if you listen to the creed of Shiism, which we've talked about on this show, I talked about it throughout his lessons. Every human being believes that subconsciously or consciously, we all look up to something greater than ourselves, and that something is the Almighty Creator. Can we at least say to ourselves that we have something in common?
There you go.
Can we at least admit that spirituality is a broader concept, that has to do with personal search and meaning and connecting you to a larger picture, which often involves individual practices or beliefs. But how do I connect with my environment? How do I nurture this environment that nurtures me, this Pan-African mindset that really has a universal application? How do we see ourselves as one with our environment so that way we could appreciate this environment a little bit more? You take care of this environment, it takes care of you. Chineke doesn't exist outside of this environment. Whatever that environment may be. It might be space, it might be on Earth, it might be on the moon, it might be in the next galaxy. If it exists, and you believe that Chineke created everything, then you must admit that if you believe that God, Chineke, created everything, Yahweh, Ubangiji, Uvuzulele, Nkulu, Jiami, created everything, then whatever it is that we're going through right now, can we honestly ask ourselves whether or not it has divine implications? Do we really believe that Chineke created everything? So why the suffering?
Yeah.
Do we believe that? What do you really believe? Religion and spirituality, which comes first? Because if you believe in religion, it doesn't make sense. But if you're spiritual, you can understand why things die anyway. You can understand why diversity is divine. You can understand why there are all kinds of roses, but there are still roses. There are all kinds of insects, bees and ants and all that, each serving a purpose in nature. Can we at least admit that just because it's different doesn't make it less than?
Yes.
But there's divine application, that's spirituality. Can we at least agree on that? That diversity is divine, that we should appreciate our environment, and our environment includes human beings, people, not just your dog, or preserve the beach, or preserve the forest, or preserve the oceans, preserve the desert, preserve the air, preserve the water. How about preserve the people? We are part of the environment. Can we at least agree to be spiritual before we are religious? But then also come to the terms, reconcile ourselves with history that says, have we ever really experienced peace in human history, in the animal world? The hunter is always stalking the hunted. The hunted, the deer, is always running for his or her life. Is it fair? How do we appreciate these differences? How do we appreciate this world, our environment? Why is it that we can appreciate everything else about our environment, even when we talk about climate change and all that, but somehow we cannot seem to apply that same love to our fellow human beings? Why do we disassociate ourselves from this environment without us? Think about just you out here in this world alone. That's it. Just think about what your existence will, be like right now. It's just you. God created man, no woman, just you, with no ability to die, to procreate. You're cursed to live forever because obviously, Chineke, at least if you're being biblical about it, the story goes that Chineke said, God said, let's create man in our image. Chineke, God never said, let me create man in my image. He never said that. There's nowhere in the Bible you see that. So let's create in our image. So there were some gods. They're called the Nephilims in Hebrew. Something like that. There are gods up there. There was no monotheism up there. There were gods. They just called them angels. But they call mine, devil or whatever. But they give theirs names like saints. And they call mine animalism. They give every derogatory name that they could give to other cultures that are not of the Abrahamic faith and never preach, live, and let live that you find in Pan-Africanism, in Chiism, in African spirituality. Bidi can bidi, live and let live. It's really that simple. But is it? Has it ever happened? What's the end game? Why are we here? I mean, if you want to lose your mind, ask those questions, because you'll never get an answer. It's just that it's more important that we appreciate humans as part of this environment that we're trying to preserve, so that we're not so nonchalant about killing children in Gaza, in Africa, in the Sudan. We're not so quick to terminate programs that can benefit poor people all over the world and further promote promote this feeling of hatred among certain people or towards certain people. We do it to ourselves. Perhaps it's our nature. Perhaps that's where we're going, because at this point I'm so frustrated because I can't believe what's going on in the world. I mean, India and Pakistan, Iran and Israel. Now the United States just bombed. Now what's going to happen to people here? Now you wake up every day. Some people may not want to do things that they used to do because they're scared to get out of the house now, because they're expecting a fallout from this madness, and it's going to affect business, not just in the United States, but all over the world. Tourism in America is dead. And if you leave the United States, you're not coming back over here. So if you're living if you're living in the United States right now, get ready for some hard times coming, because we as people failed to understand that humans are part of this environment, and that we have to live love or preach love and live love. And any religion that does not preach love and live love is no religion at all. So as far as I'm concerned, on a personal level, I hereby declare that any religion, and you know who you are, that preaches exclusive truth, my way or the highway, is no religion at all, but part of this suffering that obviously might or may not be part of human nature, because man has never really enjoyed peace anyway. That's my 2 cents, and I give my opinion based on frustration. Very frustrated.
Thank you. I mean, we all have the right to be frustrated. You know, just 1 minute you think, okay, maybe the world is getting itself together, it's getting its minds together. Then all of a sudden we have this. Why do we keep having wars? Why do we keep having wars? And what frustrates me as well is that we on the African continent seem to adopt that whole notion that war is strength. War is not strength. To me, it's a sign of weakness. If you want to be powerful, you have to be a little bit more accepting of other people's way of life, other people's philosophical thought, other people's existence. So you're not powerful because you can throw bombs around. You know, what does your bomb, what does all that do? It just destroys. It doesn't build.
Yeah.
You can't use bombs to build. You use it to destroy. So what does that say about you? What does it say about any world leader who thinks that bombing somebody, killing and maiming and destroying somehow gives strength? It doesn't. It doesn't. Because what people do is when you operate that way, people fear you. Fear is not love. Fear is not respect. That I fear you doesn't mean I respect you. Because if I can find a way to get away from you, if you know what I mean, I will.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? People don't live with people they fear. If I can get away from you, I will.
Absolutely.
I'd rather be around people that I can feel comfortable with, people I can talk with. I think Akachi asked this question, and then I want us to kind of address that. She says these are children of blood and iron and odds with each other. That's right. Okay, nature and humanity. You well said. So it's a natural instinct to rely on warfare. How do we suppress their influence and check their power? First of all, my opinion here is not based on anything other than my opinion and some of my experience. If you're not chocolate, what you seek, so shall you find. What is it you want? If you act on what it is you want, if you want peace, then act peacefully. If you want, particularly us on the continent, we don't have to emulate all of this madness to feel that we're powerful. Now, Dibia Chodese, I don't know if you heard it, is saying that Africa wants to become one country. And all the presidents of Africa. Now, I don't know how true this is. Could be somebody's wishful thinking. I tried to find it, and I find it some places, but some places say it's not true. Some places say it's true. And that is that Africa wants to come together as one. And what does that mean? If they choose to be that, that means that they want to forge their own systems that would allow them to survive and move forward, not quarrel anymore, not emulate all these warring factions, not be like the rest of the warring factions. You know, if this is the case, this is probably what Africa needs right now. I speak as an African. I can't speak as a white woman. I speak as a black woman. I would like to see peace amongst my people. I would like to see that. If that means that we have to come together and reassess how we're operating with each other, then so be it. If that means that all of Africa and Africans, wherever we find ourselves, will have to redefine what it means to be civilized, then that's what we must do. Civilized behavior does not incorporate all this massive madness, killing and maiming and destruction. And then after we destroy, we say, okay, let's have peace now. Let's rebuild. But what about those people who died in the meantime? When you bomb the place, you think it's just the building that comes down? Of course not. You've got human beings who have been lost. You can't recover them. So if Africa wants to come together and eliminate that kind of mindset, praise God, praise Chineke, because it's time.
Mm-hmm.
It's time. Because we cannot continue this way. To answer Akachi, we ourselves, it's not a matter of suppressing their influence. It's a matter of us designing our own system.
Yeah,
that's
exactly what it is. Absolutely.
You can't change them.
Yeah, absolutely.
We can change ourselves. We can define ourselves, speak for ourselves, and determine what it is that will make us better Africans on the continent and in diaspora. Unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, we get caught up in all of this. We live here. I live in America. Now I got to make sure that I have food in the refrigerator. I have to make sure I go buy some water. Who knows? I don't know what this means now.
I got to load up everything.
I don't know what it means. Does it mean, is it healthy to go out there? I mean, are the Iranians going to now say, okay, well, you bombed us, we're going to be good human beings, we'll be quiet, we're not going to retaliate? Is that what we're thinking? That's a dream. But the thing about it is,
crazy, man.
You don't know what direction they're going to be coming from. You don't know. So now we're all sitting here, sitting ducks, waiting. What's going to happen? One of the biggest tragedies, if I may air this opinion, is that before these strikes took place, the Americans in the Middle East were not evacuated. They were not asked to leave. So that means if America on the continent of America is not targeted, then the targets are outside of America. And they are quite helpless. There's nothing you can do for them if they become targeted. That's where my heart is. That's where my sadness is. Those who are not. Now, I don't know how protected we are here, or how we're protected anywhere. But I'm just saying that if a decision was going to be made for us to go to war, how about those individuals who don't live in America? What has been done to get them to safety? The soldiers that are outside of America, that are in the Middle East. What about them? I'm talking about, it's just, it's so unnerving. I don't drink. I'm not a drinker. Heck, if I can't even finish half a glass of wine all day long. I can sip it all day. By the time I finish half a glass, I'm out. But I'm telling you, yesterday I was like, okay, the wine was looking at me and I said, should I take a little bit of you or not? But I know who I am. I know if I take a little bit of wine, I'll be out. But I'm telling you, I don't know how many people are not drinking today.
And like you mentioned it, you know what? I'm just gonna go get me some Irish cream and I'm gonna lay it to waste,
Irish
man.
cream.
That's all I can drink. Because I'm not really a drinker. I don't drink, but I'll do that.
This is so. Anyway, just to summarize what I'm saying about what Akachi wrote, we have to look ourselves in the mirror and ask ourselves, where do we go from here? What do we do outside of this? Because this warfare now, China is talking about coming in. Russia is talking about, nobody wants to be left out. Everybody is a superpower. We got to flex our muscles. So, hey, don't leave me out, says China. Coming in.
Yeah.
Russia says, me too.
Russia.
Now, who's after? And all of them have nuclear warheads.
We're just a little fried. What are you going to do?
Everybody's got nuclear warhead. Pakistan, all of them, they're all joining in. So Africa, Africa, okay. It's time for us to come together, figure this thing out.
Pakistan straight up told what do you call them? That Iran that you pretty much have access to if there's a need for it, we got you. You say they're nuclear powers. It's all Middle East.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Asia, but it's really, it's Middle East. There are Muslims over there in Pakistan. And India is not sitting around letting these people just frog all over them.
No.
I don't know.
So anyway, to make a long story short, the spirit of the African must prevail. Our spirit is live and let live. Onye nankeya, to each his own. If I need water to drink and I don't have it, may I ask you for some? If you say you can't give me now, okay, what can I do? I'm not going to kill you for it. That is the spirit of the African. We don't just kill for killing, not for nothing. No killing is good, but this kind of thing we're seeing. And then you have to ask, who's bringing, if you look at some of these African countries where all these wars are happening, do we produce such weaponry? Do we produce such weaponry in Africa that we see Africans using against each other? Huh? Do we?
Well,
somebody's bringing that stuff in.
Well, yeah, you see, like we say here in broken language, now talk, they bring talk. Maybe we didn't have the need. There was no need for such. But today, the talk here, to answer Kachi's question, along with the question you've asked me, what we should be digging out of African spirituality is not whether we can produce weapons that will be more destructive than the ones in the world today. It is the goal because I used to have a vision.
No,
Sometimes I dream.
Can you pause for a minute? What I meant by what I said, do we produce such things? I'm saying we don't produce that. That's coming to us from somewhere to keep us.
Well, there were engines, spiritual engines for mass destruction in traditional Africa. Like, if I am right, the spiritual engine of Ekwensu, it's not the Satan of the Bible or of the Quran. It is a spiritual engine for mass destruction, but it's rarely used. It's rarely used. And so our weapons of mass destruction were based on our philosophy of Ofonogu, Biri Kambiri. So the problem today is that science has been made to be value neutral. So scientists can research into anything, and politicians are brought up without conscience. So that's the problem today. But as to whether this mannerism of trying to wipe out the other did not exist in the past, it did. However, the savior was that there was this belief in conscience and operating on a universal cosmic order called checks and balance, called Ofonogu, which some other people call karma. Man's inhumanity always had been there. And if you go back to maybe Yoruba tradition, you discover that there were things they used for mass destruction. Once it comes out, it's for war. And it consumed people in their 50s, in their hundreds, maybe not in their thousands, but it was rarely used. Because there was this philosophy of balance, checks and balances, that whatever you do would have a repercussion on you. Today, we don't have such belief system because from the Renaissance, the Caucasians, particularly the Europeans, abandoned religion completely and hopped on the back of science. And that means if religion was taken out, whatever conscience was left was taken out. Because even under the ordinance of religion, there was high level of oppression. There was high level of absolutism, totalitarianism. And so Europe merely went from the extremism of religion that had a little bit of conscience to science that says, remove the conscience, let man take the center. Man, human reason, like Kant would say, pure reason, finite reason, becomes the almighty, not the cosmic mind. And so once the human mind becomes the arbiter of all, the avatar of all, then it can justify evil, no checks and balances. That's the problem in the world today. And so where Chiism will come in with African spirituality is that with our science, can we develop the Ofonogu we have, checks and balances, such that we discover certain laws of the earth that are there. And if you ignite those laws, your weaponry system will be rendered useless. You have it, but it cannot work. That's the answer I think Africa can give. We do not need to join in the madness of coming up or fine-tuning our weapons of mass destruction. As to whether we tried such in the past, we did. With the little knowledge I have, we did. But it was used on the philosophy and morality of checks and balances. That is completely absent today. But I also do know that I used to have visions that if we develop our spirituality into a science, we will be able to discover a law that harmonizes the four elements. And once you ignite that law, that particular law, you have your nuclear weapon, you have everything, but they will not fire. They will simply will not work. That, I think, it's something we should research on. Unfortunately, we don't have the fund. That's my little take.
Very insightful. Thank you. UD?
I don't know, man. I just tend to gravitate towards what you said earlier on. We have to, where you say you look inward, right? Yeah. And that's something that we of African descent, we haven't really done. And then, if you look inward, you start to recognize our heroes. You start to recognize your true history. You start to ask the right kinds of questions. How did we get here? Who were our heroes? Who came before me? Which is a question that we don't ask because we're walking around here with Christopher Columbus, discovered America. Mungo Park. That's your mindset. So we as Africans, we operate outside of who we are, primordially speaking. Our spirituality, our religion, having a level of common identity. African spirituality was individual in nature, and which I feel that we all really need to really go back to that, which kind of happens a little bit more on the spiritual side of things, where the individual is really the primary here. Let's work from the individual out. You have your, all the rules, for the community and all that kind of stuff that religion provides. Then now you have to live it, live it out through, spirituality. Listen, all religions for the most part have the same common goals. They look up to something, whatever that something is. It may not even be a Chinook, some people may worship a volcano, they might call it whatever. It's not always like, when you talk about monotheism, that God sometimes, maybe the God, where the volcano is, like Mount Kilimanjaro. The God of Kilimanjaro becomes the God of man. That's where the creation started from there down. That's Kenyan spiritual culture. You see what I'm saying? So we may look at God differently, but we're looking up to something, whatever that something is. It might just be looking up to nature, the volcano, whatever, the spirit behind the volcano, or the spirit in the water, or whatever you want to call it, spirit of agriculture, and everything else. You can do all that stuff, your deities. Excuse me. We all look up to something. We have to recognize that. There's no, this is the way God wanted. If God is not stupid. I mean, you have an Iroquois tree, you have the red tree in California, or the redwood. You have all kinds of trees. They're all trees. They're all serving different purposes. God, Chineke, Allah is not stupid. There's a reason for it. Different kinds of ants. It doesn't have one type. Different kinds of everything. Dogs. Chineke is not an idiot. There's a reason why nature exists the way it does. We have to start appreciating this difference, this diversity. Appreciate evolution. They weren't always Neanderthal, because they didn't come from the north. They came from Africa. It is their metamorphosis up north that turned them into Neanderthals so that they could deal with the environment and the coldness and everything else up there. If you understand science and human migration, which has been verified by all kinds of professors all over the world, civilization started, or human migration started in Central Africa. That's where it started, somewhere around there, and then went up north about 1,000 years ago. By 70,000 years, we ended up in Australia. So on and so forth. That's how it happened. It didn't go all the way, it didn't come from the north and come down south. People changed as the environment changed. They evolved to survive in those environments. That's why in Africa, you got especially in Central Africa, you got the short pygmy type hair, all kinky. Because of the heat. That's why my hair is the way it is. It's not a curse by God. I shouldn't hate myself for it. We should start appreciating these things, which we don't. And because we don't, and we're so gullible, because a lot of things we believe it was beaten into us during slavery and colonization, you didn't really have much of a choice. Either you rode with the master, you know, Kunta Kinte, your name is Toby. No, I'm Kunta Kinte. Whack, kept whacking the boy. So he said, my name is Toby. They left him alone. So if you want to get along with your master, change your name from Udemezwe to Friday. And if that ain't good enough, try Sunday. Maybe you like that better than Tuesday. Who knows? But that's how we think. So we don't do anything African. And like you mentioned, we got to look inside. We got to start building ourselves back up and start seeing ourselves as one and start looking at our ancestry to understand where we've been, to know where we are and where we're going. We don't really have an idea of our history as people of African ancestry. Part of it, if you're African American, for example, you're in the Indies or whatever, most of the history you know about yourself is about the Middle Passage and the struggle. You don't know anything else 1,000 years before that, or 2,000 years before that, or 5,000 years before that, or 100,000 years before that. You have no history. You don't know anything about the Lebombo bones, the Ishiaka bones. You have no idea about the mathematics 35,000 years ago to calculate distances and so on and so forth. How many of us know anything about Patricia Bath? How many of us, if it wasn't for Steven Spielberg, knew anything about the ladies that did all the calculations that made the moon landing possible? How many of us knew anything about Musso Shea? There's a lot of people we don't know about. How many of us know about the open heart surgery, or know that in some communities in Africa, they're still doing brain surgery right now as we speak, as we're having this discussion. And they do it outside without anesthetics and putting you to sleep. While you're over there, you know, maybe playing one of these local checker games or something, somebody's got your cranium open and doing stuff to it. The video is there. You could go look at it. It exists. We don't appreciate those things about us, but we are quick to embrace somebody else's ancestor, somebody else's contribution, somebody else lording over us and telling us that Mungo Park discovered the Niger River when there were people there already. When somebody tells you that they are God's chosen people. So if you're Chinese, if you're African, if you're an Aztec, Inca, Maya, you're a mistake. All roses should be red. Yellow rose or a red, a white rose or pink rose. Those roses are horrible. They mean nothing. But usually you don't go giving your family friend a red rose. You give it to your wife, your lover, your girlfriend. You don't give your mom red roses most of the time. They have their own significance. Bees, ants, wasps, they're all insects. Each has a purpose. We got to appreciate this difference. Stop looking down at ourselves. Start exploring the contributions that people of African ancestry have made to civilized behavior. Because if you have any kind of pride in who you are, you're better able to defend yourself when the push comes to shove. Which right now we don't have the ability to do that because, primordially speaking, we have nothing to gravitate towards when our interest, our people of African ancestry, is under threat. just like the Muslims rally again, behind Islam, and Europeans behind it, Christianity and Chinese, Confucianism and all that kind of stuff. I mean, Black Africa, where's yours? That's it.
Yeah.
Get yours.
Thank you, UD. Thank you, Dibia Chijos. You know what? I'm reminded of a proverb by Bishop Desmond Tutu. And he says, when the law of an eye for an eye operates, all the people will end up blind.
Mm-hmm.
If you do something to me and I decide that I'm going to get back at you, you hurt one eye, then I say I'm going to take the other eye. Then you say, well, I'll take the left. So both of you will become blind. An eye for an eye, everybody becomes blind. We have a tendency when somebody does something to us, then we take it out on those people who are similar to the person who did that to us. So if one Jewish man did something to us, all Jews are bad. If one black man stole your purse, then all black men are thieves. If one woman cheated on you, then all women are cheats. We tend to overcompensate for something that happened to us. We don't pause to say, okay, what is the lesson in this? What can I do next time differently so this doesn't happen? Without aggression, without murder, without killing. You know what, one of the things that I find so ironic is that leaders feel that they are justified to kill. But one person kills, that person spends life in prison. When the leaders kill multiples of human beings, and then
they said it's state interest versus individual
as long
interest.
as they say is in the interest of the nation that they do this killing, then it's okay. But if one person does it, then one man killed one person. I'm not justifying it, of course. What I'm saying in effect is, you say one man killed one man, then he goes to he's imprisoned for how many years? Then you have a nation that's killed thousands of human beings, many of them children, but nothing happens to that person
because their God told them they're superior.
Because of that, I think that unfortunately we don't have we don't use the African spirituality of what's the lesson in this? What can I learn from this? Instead of how do I punish the person? You know that in Uganda, I believe, Divya Children, you're probably familiar with this. In Uganda, I'm sure you do. When a man steals, a woman does something, they're surrounded by the village or the village elders, and they put them in the center of the clearing. And what do? They start telling that person, do you know who your family is? Do you know we need you? Do you know how powerful you are? Do you know that you know? And when you start speaking positivity, the person starts to embrace that, start looking at themselves differently, and they change the way that they operate. They start trying to live up to that expectation, that positive expectation that the community has for them. That is our spirituality. That's the way we do things. Help a human being do better. We don't with them now. You see the Muslim, not all of them certainly, and I always have to be cautious when I make such statements. But it is their tradition, the religious tradition, to stone people to death. If you do something, either your hand is cut off or you're stoned to death. What is the purpose of that? I'm not a Muslim. I'm sure that in the Quran teaches them what relevance all of that has. What I'm saying, in effect, that is not our spirituality. We don't do that. We didn't even have jails. Did we? Did we chose those?
Well, those who had jails.
We did not have jails the way it exists.
Traditionally, we didn't.
We didn't. We didn't have such things.
We didn't have such
because we
tradition.
believe that a human being can correct themselves if given the opportunity. But when we take human beings who do things that are human, part of the nature of human, making mistakes is part of your humanity. Because that's how you learn to be a better person. Is to realize, okay, this one didn't work, so I have to do something better.
As long as you're not a mass murderer or serial killer.
Say that again.
As long as you're not a mass murderer,
no, that's a totally different thing.
Serial killer.
No, if you take somebody's life, that's a totally different thing. But what I'm saying in effect is that spiritually, if we were practicing that, people are less likely to engage in the severity, that we're seeing, all these killing, mass killings, and all that kind of stuff, because we are teaching them an eye for an eye. If you do me, I'll do you back. God no go vex. You see what I'm saying? We're not teaching, okay, you messed up now. You can do better. You're worth more than you give yourself credit for. So we're going to try it again. No. But instead, I go show them. The next thing you know, it's a totally different game, But we're learning that this is the way that we're supposed to deal with each other. Don't mess with me, and I won't mess with you. Which is a lesson. When somebody messes with you, sometimes there's a lesson in it. So you need to pause and find out, is there something I'm going to learn from what this person is saying to me? That's our spirituality. But right now, if indeed Africa is coming together, I hope that they will change their spiritual leanings as well. You can't come together, say you want to be one Africa, but then you're governed by someone else's spiritual philosophy that doesn't really work in your best interest.
I mean, when somebody tells you that your God wants you to fight for him, okay? If you got to fight for him, you got to convert people, you got to fight for me. You might have to do a little killing here and there, but as long as you're doing it to glorify my name, because I'm just a total egomaniac, it's all good, right? And while you're at it, make sure I'm the only God that you're going to mess with. If I see you or even hear that you talked or try to worship some other God, off with your head. Moses looked at God and said, God, are you out of your mind? What's wrong with you? You need to confess your sins, man, and go and apologize to them folks. And God, up in the mountains, said, I confess my sins. God confessed God's sins to Moses. And I am the king of Denmark. But anyway, the point here is, as Black people, we really owe it to the world to continue to nurture the world spiritually. We give the world a conscience.
Yes.
The idea of a supreme being came from Black Africa. We gave the world everything. And even in science, 75% of what the world enjoys today in science discoveries were given to them by Black folks. In all areas of human endeavor, we have to revisit our history. We got to start looking at ourselves that way. These are the discoveries that are just waiting for us as people of African ancestry. Don't worry about the fact that you're Ghanaian. Being Nigerian means nothing. Being South African and Jamaican, who cares? I'm a Black Chinese. I don't give a rat's. Because when the enemy sees you, he doesn't care if you're from Togo. He doesn't care if you're from Jamaica. He doesn't care if you're Nigerian, from Ijebu-Ode. He doesn't care if you're Hausa, Fulani, Igbo. He doesn't care if you're Australian, Aborigine. He just sees a Black person, and we're all the same to them. And they will hate us all the same. They don't hate the Jamaican less or the African American less. They hate us all. When they see me, they don't ask me, are you Nigerian, before they hate on me. They start hating once they see my skin color. We got to understand that for us to overcome anything, for us to re-emerge and achieve the greatness that we once had, unity is key. Umoja. We need to start celebrating our cultures. African American culture, I as a Nigerian should celebrate it. And vice versa. We should stop looking at each African culture as inferior or superior. We're just variations of the same expression. The Jamaican is no better than the Haitian. Stop hating. Stop demanding and asking for respect and relevance and for people to see you because you're a human being and as Christian and Muslim or whatever when you're hating on each other. Unite first and then worry about somebody else. Without that kind of unity, you have nothing. That's what I got to say.
I think it's also, before you say anything, I think it's also something that Akachi did say. It is, we have to really understand that there are some people, it's in their nature to be a certain way.
Yeah.
Okay? And there's nothing you can do about it. Not really. You know, you only have control of yourself. And we as Africans need to have control of ourselves. We need to go go inwardly and think. If you listen closely, you hear the footsteps of the ants. What does that mean? If we listen inwardly, we will hear Chineke. You know, we need to talk to each other, self-reflection, you know, because I'm telling you, you go mad when you see how some people behave in the midst of this disagreements. It's amazing. You know, one little thing. I mean, people have been killed. They stabbed. This was just in Nigeria recently. A Nigerian woman was stabbed to death at the market in Lagos, I think it was.
For what?
And she was supposed to pay 1,500 naira in taxes, or, market fees or something like that. She said she didn't have 1,500 naira. 1,500 naira. What? How much is that?
How much is that in cents?
1,500 naira. So even it's $1. It's $1.
It's $1.
It's just $1. The woman said she didn't have it at that moment, for them to wait till later on in the day they can come back. But for 1,500 naira, this man pulled out a gun and stabbed her in the chest repeatedly until she died. A young woman died over 1,500 naira.
Wait, the person that stabbed her is a tax collector?
Yes.
And what was the idea of stabbing her to death?
Because she didn't have 1,500 naira at the time that he wanted it. She hadn't sold much yet. So she was trying to get him to understand.
It was just extortion. It really wasn't taxing.
But this is the mindset of a lot of people. People have embraced things that are contradictory to their makeup, you know, and in their confusion, money has become more important than human life. I'm telling you, African people need to reorganize their minds and their thoughts and the way that they believe, the way rekindle old relationships with ancestors. We need to stop what I mean. The death of this woman was so cruel, over 1,500 naira. I said to myself, hey, if you had called me, I would give you the
over $1. Just break it down to that.
That's $1. But this is what is happening. And then when they finish doing those kinds of horrible things, they go to church. Because they don't see that taking human life is destructive of themselves as well. They think that because, okay, I've done something wrong, I just go and pray and ask for forgiveness, then I'm going to be forgiven. It scares me, the kind of people who are going to heaven. Oh, I don't think I want to go to that heaven. Oh. It's a dangerous place.
I really thought about all the people that I'm going to meet.
It's a very dangerous place. There are people that go and ask for forgiveness, and then
all the fun guys are in hell. All the fun people are in hell.
Honey, I don't think I want to go there.
You get what I said? All the fun people are in hell, and the most boring human beings are in heaven. I mean, once you get to heaven, and you're looking over there, you mean to tell me I got to go through eternity praying?
But then you question, you have to ask yourself, who makes it to heaven? People who have committed crimes and just prayed, and the priest who put their hand on their head, you'll be forgiven? Now you're going to go to heaven? The violence there.
I hope Jeffrey Dahmer didn't accept Jesus Christ as his Lord and Savior before he died.
my Christian friends, don't take offense for what I just said. It's just, it's a matter of fact.
It's reality. Did you hear what I just said?
What you said?
Eh?
Yes.
I said, I hope Jeffrey Dahmer did not accept the Lord Jesus Christ as his Lord and Savior before he died. Because if he did, before he died, if he was born again before he died, he'd be in heaven right now, including Idi Amin.
You got to watch out in heaven, like Akachi says. I'm telling you, no fear. You go over there, all these people that supposedly had committed crimes and they've been forgiven. You know, I go be looking behind me and say, who you? Why are you here? What did you do in your other life? I do my research before I venture over there. But anyway, Divya Chiedozie, you had something to say.
Well, this sort of
he's lost for words.
What is on ground is has so many angles to it. The first instance is that in whatever tradition, whatever ideology, that you put human beings aside, you put nature aside, and you make mammoth, you make money, pursuit of crass materialism, the center of life, then human life will no longer be valued. That is what is ruling over the world today. That's one of the evils of capitalism.
Yeah, true.
Because be it in our own culture or even in the culture of those we are talking about, it was won by the ancients, and philosophers and spiritualists repeated it, re-echoed it, that the human being is the kingdom of end in the society. Even in the Christian Bible, it is there. Law is made for man, not man for law. That's why there has been a debate between natural law theorists and positive law theorists. One insists that the ordinance of the universe, nature, balance, should be the foundation for law. The spirit of the law should take preeminence over the letter of the law. But positivism insists that the law is the law no matter what it commands. And that is when human purism is made the arbiter of all in all. And so the problem in the world today for me is that mammoth has come to the front. And if you look at Nigeria, before Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida, there was much of conscience. But as soon as Babangida came in and money was made the center of all things in Nigeria, Nigeria since then derailed. Since Ibrahim Babangida was used to devalue Nigerian currency, because as of 1989, before devaluation of Nigeria's currency, it was 70 kobo to $1. Naira was superior to dollar. Yeah. And it was just like 1 naira to 1 pound. And they came with these theories and brought in IMF-trained economists and accountants and financial experts like Kalu Dikakalo, Olufalaye, and some others like that. They brought them in to be a manager, and they started telling us that SAP was the only way. And because of the illicit dealings of IBB, he was used to compromise us since he had the ambition of being president, military president. And so what the world do, the work of the capitalists do, the international cartel do, is that they look for the worst among us and make them president and force them to take in what would not favor us. And so once life is made to be so draconian, like Bob Marley sang, he said, they make the world so hard that before you can eat, your brother got to be your enemy. So he ended up by saying, don't give us the teachings of your majesty King of England, your majesty Queen of England. Don't give us the teachings of your majesty, for we know what we want. And so the problem today in the world, for all of that you see, is that money is what counts.
Mm-hmm.
And so today in Nigeria, all over the world, the human being can be sold for money.
Mm.
If what Nnamdi Kanu said one time, his broadcast, what he said one time, SARS was founded under Obasanjo, and it was founded not for security purposes, but because our leaders are stooges of the monarch in the Anglophone countries in Africa.
Mm.
So SARS was founded in Nigeria as a way of harvesting organs for the dying Europeans. And that is what is going on today. So you see the so-called headsmen, the so-called kidnappers, they are kidnapping, and where they kidnap people, they collect ransom, and in most cases, they still murder the person on whose head ransom has been collected. They harvest the organs and sell them. Our Nollywood filmmakers have been acting film, and that was why there was mass protest against SARS. All our governors know about it, including our legislators. Ekweremadu is just a victim, but he's a victim of his own circumstance, because it was him under his reign as Senate president that he, without the support of the Senate, without the support of the National Assembly, by fiat, a law was signed whereby if you end up in any hospital in Nigeria, particularly if it is general hospital, you must look at the, if it's a major operation, you must look at the paper you are given before you sign. If not, you have signed away your organs here in Nigeria. So that is exactly what ancients have said, whether it's our own ancestors or even their own ancestors. Immanuel Kant, with all the abnormalities in his philosophy, warned that the human being should be made the kingdom of end in any society. But he had in mind the German society, the European society, not ours. He advised them, he advised his people that human being must be made the center, the kingdom of end in the society. At any time you put anything, the value of anything, money, car, house, any material thing over and above the human being will be sold to acquire that thing, that particular material object. That's why here in Nigeria, you're talking about 15,000 naira. Police had shot people here for 20 naira, for 200 naira, for 20 naira. A lot of people have been shot at the checkpoint because they refuse to give just 100 naira. 100 naira that is not up to 10 pence. 20 naira that is not even anything in American currency. People have been shot. So that is because survival has been premised on mammoth. And if we do not change this orientation, it will eat us up. It is also the reason why nations have to pillage and pillage other nations, squander other nations, reduce them to pauper, and ensure that they do not develop, so that they keep pillaging their resources for their own survival. It is a pursuit of mammoth. And the unfortunate thing is that this nomenclature of capitalism has created a huge divide between the haves and the have-not. It's no longer the rich north and the poor south. Because even in the poor south, our leaders, the elites, the business elite, religious elite, political elite, and the intellectual elite, they have all been empowered against the people. And so their minds are looking Europewards. Their masters are the XY colonial masters. So those are the people they obey. Those are the people they pay allegiance to. not to the people in Africa. So it is one of the evils of capitalism going around. And all the nations are joining in this competition of stampede. Nzogbu nzogbu, anyị zogbu, onye azogburu, aparozi apafu. And so stampede. Well, and in stampede, whoever falls, even you stampede the body more. If you don't have the time to drag the body one side, the body is stampeded. A lot of people stampede. Like what happened in the stadium during Jonathan administration. People were gathered there for exam, National Stadium in Abuja, and there was stampede, and people stepped on dead bodies. So everybody on everybody struggling for survival. So that's my little take here. And that's why we have to continue with the work we are doing. And no matter how difficult it is, we must try and strive. And beyond that, I think we must try and also create programs to empower ourselves individually, and also create groups and empower ourselves as groups, so that we will begin to also build institutions like we have, like you have, under the Chiefs Mahadum. And I dream one day that Chiefs Mahadum will have a physical presence, because if it has a physical presence here in Africa, we will find students and we'll find peoples, because in that Chiefs Mahadum, we're going to have primary and secondary schools, and we're going to have a chief spirituality backing it. And then we begin to harvest them young, the way they do to us. They harvest us young through the churches, through the schools, through the mosques. They harvest us young. And in our own countries, we attend German schools, Arabic schools, Turkish schools, Indian schools, Chinese schools, and we are proud to pay handsomely exorbitant amounts for these schools. We even pride those schools over our own local schools. And so a lot of things to do, a lot of things to fight against. The problem of identity fueled by the problem of alienation, whereby the individual does not realize his or her own power as an African. Everything foreign is good. All things local are bad. We need to change this narrative. Thank you.
Beautiful. Oh, we can't hear you, Gilly. We can't hear you.
Please, I think she's saying you should.
Okay.
No,
Yes.
I was just letting you know I was having a coughing fit.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry.
So that's why I had to go get it out. But somebody made a comment here. Yudi, can you comment on what he said here?
Let's see. The thing about it is, ever since the existence of these people, the world was doomed. Yeah, just about it. See, the history of the Europeans, I'm sure KDB and DVT Dozie will attest to this. See, until the Europeans found somebody else to kill, they were killing each other in Europe. They were slaughtering each other, from the Normans to whatever. They were just massacring each other. That's what they did. That's their history. That's their nature. That's what and who they are. Look at the Vikings. Look at the Norse culture, right? What did they promote in Norse culture? Norse culture promotes dying in battle. You have to fight. You have to kill. Dying peacefully is not going to get you to Asgard, to dine with the gods, to drink ale with Odin. You have to die in battle. So most Viking men wished to die in battle. That's what it was about. And then you look at pagan culture. It's the same thing. Everything is built on violence. The idea of heaven and hell is really from pagan culture of what they call Hades or Tartarus, the place in the underground where the gods in Olympus that have done something that displeases, Zeus, are sent to Tartarus, to Hades, forever. The idea of hell in Norse culture is the queen of the underworld, H-E-L, hell. It's their nature. Chaos is their culture. That's what they're about. And as soon as they left their environment and found somebody else to kill, we were doomed. They found us. They found the Mayans. They found the Aztecs. They found the Incas, the Africans, the Aborigine population of Australia. They found all the indigenes in mostly tropical places where spices exist. They also found China, India, and they started exploiting. Because after all, in Europe, you don't really have anything. I mean, what do you really have over there that we don't have in Africa? Or that you can't find plenty of it in South America? I mean, what minerals? Oil, gas, what? What don't we have? Gold, diamonds? Oh, we got plenty of that. Spices? We give Europe everything that they enjoy today. They got hooked. It's like somebody on drugs. They're not going to steal to get high. They're going to rob to get high because they love being high. They love the goodies they're getting for free. And as long as they keep murdering somebody else other than themselves, they will continue to get high on diamonds, on gold, on oil, on uranium, on whatever, and on African people, brain drain, on slavery, both physical and mental. They will continue to eat while we continue to be the eating. The world is a Serengeti, and only the strong survive. If we unite as a people, just like boiling all your fingers together to strike a mighty blow. If you get in a fight, I used to box. I'm not going in a fight slapping people around. You're not going to go into a gunfight with a knife. If we come together as one, try to share common values that we all can relate to. Common language, change the educational system. We have to have things that we all can view in common. Maybe a common religion, a common language, a common something. We already share a common skin color. Let's put something spiritual or philosophical that binds us together. And let's have reverence for the diversity in African culture, because that's what makes us great. That's what the world wants and can't get enough of. Only, unfortunately, they don't negotiate. They just take it by force. And the only reason why they do it is because they found somebody else to kill and get something, as opposed to murdering each other for wealth. That's all I got to say about that. I can't hear you. We can't hear you, Ogele.
Dibia Chedo's here.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Yudi, for your contribution. That was wonderful. Do forgive me. For some reason, I just have this coughing spell. It's gotten a little better. But Akachi says, today is a how do you recommend we walk in these days in a chi? Question number 2. What is this month and what might we focus on for the time being? And I would respond to her after you do. Go ahead, Dibia Chedozi.
Yeah, please, can you remind me, what is this month in Igbo?
Thank you.
Okay. While you are looking for that, let me talk on Eke.
Yeah.
Today is Ekuku, and Ekuku is the male energy, the male aspect of Eke, because everything in Igbo land is duality, complementarity of male and female energy. Yes, primarily Eke is water and it is female. But in spite of that, there is a male and female part of each of the elements. So primarily, Eke is the element of water, and its symbol is the python. The symbol is python because the python conditions its food before it eats it. So Eke nekebunri tufuyeri. So if you look at the 4 elements, they can be represented in the way, for instance, our food. We swallow, we mold it before we eat. Ikeya, gerie, that's ori. Ire ya gelo, ya dona for afo. Then God, the body takes what it wants from the food. So you see the elements. It goes through the cycle of what we do as human beings and as animals, as nature itself, because nature goes through this process. Now, the Eke itself is a primordial day of creation, not just creativity, creation. And what the Igbo Dibia does is that Eke is the day everything is conditioned. The way we want the Izu, want the week to run, we condition it on Eke day. And Eke, so that the way we want the week to run, we project it. We do the rituals, and then the rituals condition our mental state, and so that there will be harmony between the force of Eke and the human being. That's the whole essence why our ancestors, the Igbo ancestors, made sure that the days are primordially harmonized with the elements, the four elements. So it's a way by which, by spirituality, through spirituality, we are mentally, spiritually prepared to live in harmony with nature, not in dissonance with nature, not in discordant tunes with nature. And so that way too, the elements become friendly towards us, because the truth of the matter is that the way we behave to the world, elements, is the way the elements behave back to us. If we are empathic towards nature, nature will be empathic towards us. That's why you see when a people have what they call their totem, say a python, or even a cobra, or even an alligator, monitor lizard, a crocodile, once they choose it as their totem, and they create a harmony of understanding between them and that particular totem, the totem does not harm anybody from that community. And if you go through the initiatory process of that particular community, that totem will not harm you. And so you discover that by anchoring the days of the week on the four elements and the energy that binds them together, Abia, our ancestors created a harmony between us and our environment, within us, our environment, and the cosmos. Because the philosophy is that Chukwu Okike Abiama manifested itself in duality, male and female energy. And when it does so, when it did, it now also manifested itself, amassed itself in the four elements, so that the four elements are controlled by the beingness, the more of Chukwu Okike, Chineke. So in that order, today is a kuku, and a kuku is the male energy part of Eke. However, if the Igbo are to start the journey of Eke, we do not start it on a kuku. We start it on a kenta, because a kenta is female. I know it is the female that always carries the bearer of children. So because we are always interested in what multiplies, in what preserves. We are not interested, we are more interested in that. We are interested in the male energy. But we believe that the male energy could be somehow volatile. And if it is volatile, it needs to be controlled. And so we use the female energy to control the male energy. And so our initiatory process of initiating ourselves into the days of the week will start, because the days are 4, 4, 4 in pairs, making them 8. And so we initiate ourselves either on Ikenta or Afonta. If it's Ori, it must be Orienta. If it's Nkwa, it's Nkwanta, representing the female aspect that represents sustainability. So that way you discover that we are always interested in harmony between us and the cosmos, the environment.
Yes.
And so it is that Chukwu Okike Abiama replicated itself in the environment. And the order of the environment, the structure of the environment is the structure of every living thing. So that the Igbo will say, Obochi Dana. This is now Obochi de Asabo Nduzuzu. And what the Igbo mean is this. The four primary elements we see, the primordial elements we see are four. Because these are the four ways by which Chukwu Okike Abiama brought itself into physical reality. However, each of the four elements is governed by Eke, Agonachi, and making it three. So for the Igbo, the four that we see that govern the physical space are four. Then the remaining three are spiritual. They are the being, the engine that govern the four elements. This structure of the four elements become the structure of all living things, even stone, even earth,
Yes.
and the ditto human beings. But in the human being, we are the most evolved. Mando, Madi, beauty of life. So we are to replicate the goodness of Chukwu Okike Abiama in the way we run things. So that's why, in my understanding, this program and the Cheese organization, everything that represents cheeseism is very important. We must keep teaching it. And at this point, I will hand you over to Dibia and Dibia Achuaja. These are their main. Thank you.
Dibia Chedozie. Thank you very, very, very. I don't even know what word to use, but I think Akachi pretty much got it, and everyone else who's listening. But she did ask another question, and you certainly explained the K. The K. In Igbo Uzondo, our horoscope, this month is the month of Anyang, okay? And that runs June the 2nd through June the 29th. So if you were born this month, if you're born between June the 2nd and June the 29th, you're in the month of Anyang. You know, the incredibility of Chineke's power to see everything. And you are supposed to represent such capacity as well. You know, be open-minded and see those things, or at least seek to see. In other words, do your research. This is a good month to focus on research, particularly research on things that are going on around you. You must be diligent in your activities. Don't give up just because somebody said you couldn't. You have to believe that you can, and you have to take responsibility. Whatever you're doing, if things don't work out this month, it's not, you don't blame other people, because we tend to blame people for things that don't go well in us. But in the month of Anyang, you're supposed to be diligent in your research, find out information, don't assume anything, and do take responsibility for whatever happens to you or lack thereof. You know, it doesn't pay to be other people, and be loyal. Be loyal to your family. Be loyal to Chineke. Be loyal to yourself. We have a tendency to be fickle. If somebody tells us one thing, if we believe in one thing, we'll jump and leave what we actually believe. So you have to be loyal to yourself, your family, your community. This is a good month for African people to really look at their community and see what role each one of us can play for its upliftment. And now focus on the madness around us. There's so much madness around us. This is a good month to now focus on it. The madness will be there whether you focus on it or not. So why bother? So focus more on what is going to be good for your family and be good for your community. And then we always say that there is ancestral mandate. What do we mean, the ancestral mandate? What would our ancestors want us to do this month? First of all, don't be complacent. You know, complacency is to be avoided this month. We must do whatever we have to do, not to become a part of. We must stand on our own. and don't participate in something that you know is not good for you or for others. And you must be moral. Your morality must be very high this month. And the other thing that we say that our ancestors wanted, this is according to the Uzonto, is that we must not settle for mediocrity. We African people, we didn't historically settle for mediocrity. And as descendants of the ancestors, we must not. We must always want to be. What is it your dad used to tell us? If somebody is doing better than you, do they have a horn growing out of their forehead?
Yeah, forehead. Yeah.
Yeah. So how is it that they're doing? Yeah. You know, so you have no reason to be mediocre in any way. So this month, that is what we say that our ancestors, it's written in Uzonto, that our ancestors will want for us. And last but not least, this is a good time to be concerned about health issues, health causes, yours and your community. One of the things that really concerns me, I have a lady that I'm going to be interviewing next Saturday. She's a member of OMSI, but she's a doctor. And she's talking about the fact that they are trying to curtail vaccinations because we emulate what America does. And since America is, for whatever the reasons are, I'm not going to go into all of that, is saying that you should not vaccinate your children. That becomes a problem in Africa because we do have a tendency to go along with what they say, instead of doing what we know that's right. So the fear is that there's going to be a lot of loss of life if the vaccinations stop. Some of the things that they've eradicated may come back, So this is a good month to take into consideration for some of the medical challenges that our people are going to be facing, and you're going to be facing yourself. So if you have the voice that you can help correct this whole new thing that's coming up here in America, which again affects the whole world, we need to speak up about our children getting vaccinated. Anything that has to do with healthcare, we must be involved, we must be engaged. So this is what this month is about, according to what you asked, what you must focus on. I hope I answered that question for you, Akachi. I think you said Dalo here. I'm not sure everybody spoke so well. Dalo, so it's thank you to Yudi, thank you to Dibia Chedozie for the responses that were given. So there's a third question that she has, and we will answer this question and now we'll take it to the end of the program. And as she says, in a world of chaos, what spiritual techniques do you suggest we do to maintain our personal peace? Who wants to take that?
Well, I think for me, just one answer. Follow the path of Ofonogu, moderation, the middle path. That's all.
Ofonogu, yes. Yes.
Jiofo, Jidogu.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. You're covered. Some people say, "Oh, I'm covered by the blood of Jesus." But no, you eat Jiofo, Jidogu. That's it right there. That's your protection. I come to Ocha.
Yes.
That's it.
That's it. I come to Ocha. I love it.
I come to Ocha. Manomo, Mamomo. After Macharomo, say, "Oh, here by himself, Ubima." If I'm home on a bomb, but Gaga. Mbunugumma.
Okay. That's right.
You are warned. Do not come in here, because if you do, beware of the dog. If the dog bites you, you are warned. I come to Ocha, that was right there, was a bone of contention.
Yes.
You say, well, it's my farm. Because if you didn't want nobody, then you can't judge somebody guilty.
Yes.
When they didn't know they were doing something wrong.
That's it. And it's also extremely important that you become, this month is a good time for your spiritual well-being to be in touch with nature. You see, nature is always kind to us. You know, nature will talk to us very early in the morning, and I've made it a habit. It works for me. You know, get out there very early while everybody's sleeping. I don't care. You can sit on your deck and just have your coffee and just listen to the music of the birds. Listen to nature speak to you. It always calms you. Nature has a way to calm you. No, you get your feet on the grass, wet grass if you have to, and just stand there and inhale and exhale. Call upon the ancestors to meet you where you are. Thank Chineke for this thing called breath. You know, just become one with nature and just shut out the noise of the world. That is very helpful. And that's one of the things I can say. If you want spiritual balance at this moment, if you want to get away from all the noise of the work, just get in tune with nature, because quite frankly, the greatest healer is nature. I want to thank all of you for joining us today, and let us please take the time and pray for the world, pray for peace.
Yes.
You know, we need to pray for peace. If a lot of people say, oh, prayer doesn't work. Prayer works if a lot of people are praying to do something at the same time, something positive. That's where nature then, I mean, that's when your wish becomes a reality, if all of us are thinking along those lines. So let us remember that violence is never the answer. It's never the answer, not in our personal lives, not in our collective lives. It is important for us to look to each other for that peace we're looking for. If we can be tolerant, if we can accept our diversity, accept our diverse religious philosophies, we will find that, oh my God, this world is not really as bad as we, you know, as we make it out to be by all this violence and war. If you're an African spiritualist, if you're a chaste, I know that you know that violence is never the answer. And so it is. Thank you so very much. And we look forward to seeing you. Oh, join me on tomorrow's show next Saturday. It will be a very interesting one. And of course, this next Sunday, next Sunday, we're not going to have Chism live. We're going to have different videos from Dibia Chedozie, from Dibia UD, and it will be in the Chism network. You can go there on YouTube and see whatever it is we're talking about. Sometimes we have different things we want to talk about. So Chism network is where you go and see what videos we have there about something new. But then the following weekend, we will see you. Thank you so much for joining us. And I wish you the very best today. Yagazia.
Yagazia.
Somebody said, okay, thank you, Akachi. Thank you. We enjoyed your contribution, and we look forward to seeing you the next time on Chism. And remember, please, if you haven't done so, make sure that you go and subscribe. Let's raise the numbers for this wonderful, wonderful program. It's up to all of us to make it happen. So please go and subscribe. Dibia UD. Yeah, guys, Dibia Chedozie. Thank you so much.
Yeah, all right.
No.